Welcome to 50 Ways to Succeed at Work, where you hear stuff about ways to succeed even the most well-intentioned colleagues, advisors, careers officers and HR departments may never get around to mentioning. Episode 10. Lively Listener. Become a terrific listener and watch your impact expand. Maria is starting her first job. Within hours, she keeps hearing about Mrs. T.
She runs things around here. She always knows what's going on.
Nothing moves in this place unless Mrs. T agrees to it.
This woman's amazing, Penny. She's nothing like the fire-eating dragon lady people warned me about. She's the complete opposite. She immediately detected my nervousness and gave me a soothing mint tea. She was all attention and interested in me and what I want for the new job. I don't think I've ever been so heard.
Maria attends regular team meetings. They seem to her increasingly unsatisfactory. It isn't apparent, though, as to what's going wrong. The team leader, too, knows there's a problem and hires an external consultant to study what is happening. After talking to all 9 team members, the consultant convenes a meeting.
Morning, folks. How's it going? Well, you've all heard my diagnosis that one reason why your meetings are not delivering is to do with listening. At today's meeting, folks, a new rule is that you cannot say anything after someone speaks without acknowledging what they've said and building on it. You can't just start a new topic. Get it?
There are the inevitable grumblings, yet to the total surprise of the team leader, the meeting goes brilliantly. Nobody interrupts. More importantly, they build on each other's contributions. At the end of the session, the consultant asks everyone what they've noticed.
No point scoring, no competition to speak. People listened, not just pretended to.
We worked collaboratively.
To Maria, it's obvious what's changed. As with Mrs. T, people feel genuinely heard in the meeting. Now, let's relate this story to your search for success at work. I found that there are 3 main questions about listening at work. How do I listen effectively at work? How does active listening help in the workplace? And when actively listening, what questions should I ask? There's a difference between paying attention and lively listening. Paying attention doesn't make many demands on you. Lively listening, though, is called active listening and is far more challenging. You're a real participant when you're a lively listener. It makes communication two-way. For example, as part of lively listening, you ask questions of speakers. As a lively listener, you focus intently on what someone says to you. You engage and understand what the speaker is trying to convey. Your focus is entirely on the speaker, not yourself or what you want to say when that person stops. You seek to understand their message, comprehend their information, and respond thoughtfully. With passive listening, you only need to use your ears to hear what's being said. You don't necessarily try to make sense of the content. If someone asks, "What have you just heard?" you may even be unable to tell them. In contrast, as a lively listener, you try to fully hear, understand, and respond adequately to the speaker. By the way, good listening is essential in most well-run organizations. Some even invest in teaching lively listening skills. They recognize that this ability is central to the communication process. When you're a lively listener, you ask questions, not ones demanding just a yes or no. You pose questions to prompt a response, not just act like a sponge soaking up the sound. You don't interrupt. You give the speaker your full attention. You ask for more details. Can you think of other ways to be a lively listener? Think about it. Try some of these. Watch for verbal clues. Offer feedback when appropriate. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Find weaknesses or flaws in the communication. Convey empathy to understand the speaker's thoughts. Finally, encourage the speaker to open up more easily. The second question is, how does active listening help in the workplace? It's a key to building relationships, and relationships underpin your success at work. Active listening helps avoid and resolve conflict. People often misunderstand each other or hold different points of view. When that happens, active listening plays a crucial role. We tend to see things from our perspective, which active listening can remedy. When actively listening, you start to see things from different viewpoints. For example, you begin to recognize other people's feelings and appreciate them. As an active listener, you'll be less likely to miss out on important information. You hear a speaker's whole message because you're engaged at a higher level with them. Active listening also enables you to identify or anticipate problems. It allows you to judge whether a problem exists and its possible consequences. Finally, active listening lets you grow your knowledge and make the most of it. The third concern people have about listening at work is, when actively listening, what questions should I ask? An effective technique is to ask why 3 times in succession. This helps you to tease out what lies behind the speaker's message. Each time they explain their message, you ask another why. You need to do this in a spirit of inquiry, not aggressively as if it's a police interrogation. Another helpful method is to ask the speaker to place their message in a new context. For example, you might say, "Could you explain this as if speaking to a 10-year-old child?" Or, "Imagine you're in a lift and only have a few moments to get your message across. What would you say?" You know you've asked a powerful question when it stimulates a thoughtful conversation, provokes thought, highlights underlying assumptions, encourages creativity and new possibilities, focuses attention on an issue, touches a deep meaning, and evokes more questions. As you listen, ask yourself, how does what I'm hearing relate to previous conversations? For example, what has changed? And is the person showing more urgency in their voice than previously? Or can I detect an underlying, perhaps hidden theme here? There's always more going on than you know. Clarifying questions can confirm what you're hearing. For instance, you might ask yourself, what am I learning from listening to this? Another powerful question is, what are the pauses, chuckles, silences, body language, voice tonality and other background clues trying to tell me? Finally, what is preventing me from learning something about this person? And what is he or she saying? So what action am I proposing? Adopt lively listening practices in which you energize and support those who you listen to. Listen with a purpose in mind and be on the lookout for specific things, such as what's the person's core message. Respond to feelings by acknowledging and describing them aloud and their effect. And my takeaway from all of this? Focus on a definite purpose and listen out for the bigger picture. You've been listening to an episode of Andrew's 50 Ways to Succeed at Work. For more episodes, subscribe free to my regular weekly podcasts. You can catch up on past ones at the 50ways.site, where you can also become a Foundation member with access to e-learning units, further reading links, and the forum, where you can ask questions, share problems, and join a growing community of people who seriously want to succeed at work. Now there's a new book and an audio version called, you guessed it, 50 Ways to Succeed at Work. Buy it at Amazon or the 50ways.site. Unmissable. Thanks for listening, and bye for now until next week.